I'm Diana Belchase, and I'm so pleased to have with me the absolutely wonderful writer, Louise Penny.
That is true.
and she has every right to feel that way about her writing and being here. But anyway, Louise has an incredible series. She has just released the 8th book, right?
Yes, it came out last September.
And it is up for an Agatha Award today for Best Novel. And I'm rooting for you. It's called The Beautiful Mystery. And the publisher is?
Minotaur Books. It's a part of St. Martin's Press.
Yes. And tell me a little bit about the series and the characters.
The series is set in a small town, a village, south of Montreal. It's set in Canada, just north of the Vermont border.
Now you're Canadian, correct?
I'm Canadian, exactly. I live in Quebec.
Is this near where you live?
Yes, although I hesitate to say it's based on an actual location.
No, but it's someplace you're familiar with.
It's all fictional.
We'll talk later and I'll tell you the truth about what she says to me in private.
The fact is, it is absolutely inspired by, the village itself, it's called Three Pines, doesn't exist. That's inspired by all sorts of villages I read about growing up and my ideal village, and it was written sometime around 9/11 when I was sort of personally going through some difficult things, and I thought, I want a safe place. I want a safe place physically, but I'm smart enough and old enough to know that probably doesn't exist. So I definitely want to create a safe place emotionally. And when I've been in times of stress, I found solace in books. And I thought it would be nice for me personally to create that safe place. So that's what Three Pines is. And I created Three Pines, not really, I hoped that the book would be published, but didn't totally believe that it would be. And I wasn't sure it would ever find an audience. But one of the things I've learned as the gray entered my hair was that I am not alone in what I think and feel. And that if I felt the need for a place where kindness was really the currency, where there was a sense of belonging and community and friendship, then others might be feeling that need as well. And so that's what I created.
I think that's one of the questions that people always have is, why do people like to read mysteries? Why do we like to write mysteries? And I think it's also not only having the safe place, but having the ability to truly find justice. You know, to face really horrible things and to find that sort of resolution and conclusion that we really don't find in real life.
Yes, yeah, and to be fair, some of my books have that resolution. Many of them don't. I feel that there's a contract I enter into with the readers, and one is that the plot line for the most part needs to be resolved. People generally find out who done it, otherwise they feel cheated. I would feel cheated. But then there is the more intuitive arc that goes from book to book, and that goes on, and there are cliffhangers and there are uncertainties, as there are in life. There's very few things are wrapped up all that neatly.
Well, you do it so well.
Thank you. I love doing it. I love doing it. And the books you talked about, the sense of place, for me it was really important that my books also be love letters to where I live, and they are love letters to Quebec, love letters to Canada. And I hope that comes through.
Well, in The Beautiful Mystery, one of the things that I find very interesting, you said that this actual monastery is based on an order that's extinct, but you did real research in a real monastery with real monks. Tell please
I
us about
sometimes wonder
that.
if they thought that I was a cross-dresser or something, transvestite. Sure, sir, come and join us. I knew I wanted it to have to do with Gregorian chants. I've always been inspired and thrilled by Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot, which is really a discussion, an examination of tyranny and standing up to tyranny, and monasteries. And so I got in touch with a local monastery and asked them if I could visit and to do some research. I explained who I was, and they wrote back to say yes. And I thought, that can't be right. Surely they didn't understand my email.
Because
they should have said no.
They said that you could spend the night,
They said,
correct?
they said, come and spend the night. And I thought, they clearly don't understand. Maybe they thought I was Louis rather than Louise. Maybe they don't understand I'm a mystery writer, wants to set a murder in there. So I wrote back again, and they said, yes, yes, yes. You know, the subtext is, we're not idiots. Come and spend the night. So my husband and I went, and they allowed us to spend the night in the same cell. And they gave us just remarkable access.
Didn't you say it was the presidential
Yes.
cell?
They got, and my one regret in this whole thing is that I didn't take a photograph of the presidential. I mean, how many times do we think that would be appropriate?
What did it look like?
It was about an inch bigger than their normal cells.
Still very Spartan?
Very Spartan is exactly the word. But it was on the same floor as all of them. It's like a beehive. Just, and as I said, they gave us amazing access behind the doors that most people never get to see.
And were they a silent order?
Well, to be fair, my book, in my book, the monks are a silent order. This is an order where it's more of a suggestion of silence, a strong suggestion, a recommendation, not a rule. So they don't they're not a chatty lot. But we were assigned a monk who happened to really love crime novels. And I had sent him a couple of mine beforehand, and he read them, and so he really knew what he was up against. But it became clear as I was going through it, it was really, for me, a remarkable experience. To be honest, for the first couple of services, and there are a gazillion services through a Catholic, the hours through a Catholic day, the first few where they sang the Gregorian chants really didn't move me, and I was sort of tapping my toe thinking, when can I get to the cheese and the chocolate-covered blueberries? Is there a gift shop? But as the day wore on, and as fewer and fewer people were there, the villagers left, and the monastery, which is quite remote, was left on its own, and then it grew dark, and then it was just the monks and my husband and I. Something happened. It became so deeply peaceful. And I realized how little of that I have in my life. No cell phones, no phones, nothing. And the final service of the day was just the monks at the front in this very Spartan chapel, a single light at the very front. We were sitting in darkness, and they came in chanting, and it was so peaceful. It was so beautiful. I've never known anything like that before or since, and I wanted to try to capture that. Because when something is that peaceful, the violation is the greater.
Yes.
When something awful happens, shattering that peace, it is a complete, everything falls apart.
How wonderful that you were able to bring that richness into your book and the real experience, that you're not making up the experience, that you lived it and that you're able to write about
They
it.
were very, very generous in showing us around. But finally, I felt I should talk to the Abbott, because I should,
What did he think about you writing a murder mystery?
What
That's
happened
what I
was,
wanted to know.
I wasn't sure that they really understood. I mean, I didn't want to treat them as, be patronizing, but it seemed to me that it wasn't appropriate to set a murder mystery in there, and I wasn't sure that they really understood what my plans were. So my husband and I sat with the Abbot and talked to him in French about this, and his face went from smiling and nodding to less smiling to growing more and more frigid, and finally at the end of it his brows came, and he's such a nice man, and his lips got very thin, and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't allow you to write a book, a murder mystery set in my monastery. It just isn't appropriate," which was a bit disturbing for me and upsetting, but I understood completely. It was the answer I expected. Then he showed us to the door, as I'm convinced, to make sure that we left. And as we're at the door, he said to me, and a murder in a Benedictine monastery is really not very likely. And I said, "I'm sure that's true, mon père." And he paused and he said, "Now the Trappists."
It's absolutely delightful.
So he had a good sense of humor too at that point. I don't think he was throwing the Trappists under the truck. I think he just...
So you settled this conundrum by...
I did, by becoming, because I am godlike in my powers, I resurrected this extinct order of monks, the Gilbertines, set them way far away in the Quebec wilderness, but had them have their silent order, a complete vow of or near complete vow of silence, who have become world famous because of this little recording they did to raise money, thanks to the internet, that they're not on, but someone else put it on the internet. They've become this sensations worldwide because of their singing voices. And I thought, isn't that interesting to explore that contradiction of a silent order becoming famous for their voices?
Their singing.
And then there's a murder, the choir director is murdered, and then there's some question, obviously, about not only who did it, but why. What could possibly drive a man of God, a peaceful man, to kill the choir, another monk? And was it because they felt the other monk was evil, or was the person who did the work evil? Was it to protect the monastery, or was it a violation against the monastery?
Well, we'll leave that conundrum for the reader to find out. It's a wonderful book, The Beautiful Mystery. It's an Agatha Award nominee. And tell me, when's the next book coming out?
It's called How the Light Gets In, and it's coming out on August the 27th.
Well, I can't wait to read it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
I've enjoyed it.
I'm Diana Belchase, here with Louise Penny, and keep reading.